Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing related tweets. Or you can subscribe to the channel, click that notifications button and get a new notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Group C of our little mini series. There are a lot of people here that are loving the historical boxing aspects of this little mini series. I'm glad you guys are delighted. For those of you that are also interested in the football, well, let's just say we're doing really well when it comes to our ones to watch, aren't we? We had Berardi for Italy. He was fantastic in that game and he put in the cross that led to Italy's opening goal against Turkey. We had Kiefer Moore for Wales and he scored a fantastic header and showed his ability as well. For Finland, we had Glenn Kamara and he put in a fantastic display and started the move that led to it was a brilliant passing move from the team that led to Finland's opening goal. And of course, we have also said Meunier of Belgium was also one to watch, and he also got on the score sheet. Hopefully these little tips we're putting out there can continue to be fruitful and give you guys something to look out for when you're watching these games. Now let's talk about Group C. It's a much more evenly matched group than people, I believe, assume. The Dutch aren't the team they used to be. They have been in a transitional phase for a long time. They're finding their feet now, but they're still not the giants they used to be. The Austrians are underrated. You've got Fyrom in there. You've got the Ukraine in there. This is going to be an interesting group potentially. They're all going to harbour hopes of maybe being able to get through this group. The Dutch, obviously, that will be their main aim. Austria and the Ukraine will fancy themselves as one of the two teams to follow them and possibly even top them. But Fyrom will also harbour hopes. For a small side, they're decent. So let's talk a little bit about the group. The Dutch, of course, have Virgil van Dijk out injured. He would have been their star man. Instead, we go with Memphis Depay. Memphis Depay is not the player he was at United. He's improved massively. A lot of people weren't sold on him at Man United, but he's a significant goal threat, and he will have to turn up in order for the Dutch to do anything in this tournament. And I believe he will get goals in a group like this. In terms of the one to watch, he might not necessarily start Cody Gakpo, but if he does come off the bench, you'll see some injection of pace and excitement. He picks up the ball, his immediate thought is to run at the opposing goal. He's very direct in that regard. He's very positive in his thought process. He's got a really nice through ball as well. So if people try to back off of him, he'll run at them. If they try to step into him, he'll look to pick out a pass. He's a really talented player, young player. Check him out. In terms of the boxing, well, as you can see, there's going to be 3 names here, and that's because we've got a nice little story coming up. Isaac Heimbitten, a Dutch Jew, bare-knuckle boxer who moved from Holland to the UK, to England, when he was a young lad. He moved to London when he was the age of 10 with his family because they were poverty-stricken. He was a thick-set guy, pudgy with a pot belly, and he became active in the sport when he was 22 years old as a boxer. At the end of the 1700s, 1799 is when he started his career. Like I said, he was a bare-knuckle fighter, but there was some science behind what he tried to do. He had a background in fencing. And as I've said on this channel before, there are a lot of transferable skills to boxing when it comes to fencing. And he became a student of the English heavyweight, George Mendoza, who goes down as one of the great English heavyweights of his era. Mendoza had what was considered a new scientific approach to boxing. They were essentially looking at distance control and parrying. Again, something they'd got from fencing. The concept of blocks that are used in fencing and how to adopt a stance is the skill they used. He was best known for a fight he had against George Maddox. 74 rounds that fight went for. It was a fight whereby apparently Maddox had been down multiple times early in the fight. You could just imagine a modern day audience criticising Bitton for that, unable to finish off his guy, right? And they said that Maddox actually had a face like raw meat by the end of the fight. Having said that, it was deemed a draw because the fight was essentially stopped as darkness fell, and representatives said that both guys had fought with equal skill. So there was almost this submission from both men that they were equal to each other in terms of trying to get the other one out of there, even though it sounds like Bitton might have really done a number on his man. Now, the reason this story is also so interesting is because apart from his bare knuckle ventures, he was a food seller at Whitechapel. He was, like I said, a stocky man who ballooned up in weight after retirement, reaching nearly 17 stone, and this was a small guy, right? But he established, despite that, an athletic school So he was a natural athlete that let himself go and decided to train others into being fit and healthy. I always find that funny. If you've got like a personal trainer who's podgy, or you've got a dietitian who's fat, it always makes me laugh. And in this particular school in Whitechapel where he opened it up, it wasn't just boxing that he was teaching, he was also teaching fencing. So clearly the two things he always felt were closely intertwined. It was certainly intertwined in the development of his own skill set. So although it doesn't go down as the greatest Dutch fighter of all time, there's a very interesting story there. And additionally to that, for those of you that might be looking for an extra bit of information, a little bit of a tidbit that you might enjoy, if you watch EastEnders, or you've ever seen EastEnders, I can't say I'm a soap fan, to be honest with you, but there are many people out there that are soap dramas, and EastEnders is one of the longest running ones on British TV. Then I'm sure you'll be aware of the actress June Brown. June Brown is the one that plays Dot Cotton, the one who's looked about 85 years old for the last 35 years. Now, June Cotton went on a show called Who Do You Think You Are?, which is a show that looks essentially at your family tree and goes back in time and looks at your ancestry. And Bitton is an ancestor of hers. So a little bit of a fun tidbit there for you to consider as well. So yeah, interesting little story for Chaim Bitton, Isaac Chaim Bitton. Moving on from that, let's talk about Austria. The versatile David Alaba, very, very talented footballer. You have to be talented to be at Bayern Munich for as long as he has. He joined the club in 2009. He was in the reserves. 2010, he made his breakthrough into the first team. He went to Hoffenheim in 2011 and then on loan. And then since returning there, like I said, he's been a stalwart for them over the years, and he's a very versatile and gifted footballer. Can play at left back, can play it as a defender, anywhere really, can play at centre back or holding midfield. He's also played attacking midfield for the Austrians, so he's really their talisman. He makes them tick. He's a very, very good player. Apart from him, the one to look out for, you'd have to say, is Marcel Sabitzer. He's being linked with a move to Arsenal. He's a very talented footballer in his own right. He is a guy who plays for Leipzig currently, a very talented Leipzig side, and he'll be hoping and looking to make things happen for this Austrian side. In terms of boxing, let's talk about Heinz Lazek. Heinz Lazek was half Austrian, half German. He was a heavyweight boxer and a light heavyweight, and he won the EBU title at both weight categories, so a two-time European champion. As you can see from the poster on the right hand side, he fought Karel Sis. He's the Belgian fighter that we spoke about, who'd gone through multiple weight categories and stuff like that. So you'll recognize him and some of the other names that he fought from that. Now let's move on to Firearm, and of course their star man Goran Pandev. He's been at some massive clubs in his career. He's been at the likes of Lazio and Inter Milan and Napoli. He's had a big career. It's at Genoa as well, where he's currently at, that he's had an impressive time of it. So he's a very good player, and he's their talisman. And even at the tender age of 37, he's the guy that they look to and put on a pedestal. In terms of the one to watch, I've gone for Ivan Trzaskowski. I could have gone for other players, but I figured you might already be aware of them. You know, Alioski, for instance, is at Leeds United. You're probably fully aware of him and his talents. Trzaskowski might not start. He's in and out of the team, but he's a very willing runner. He gets himself into intelligent areas, and he can pop up with a big goal, particularly on the counter. He's a good player on the break, and you would imagine that they will be playing a lot of their games on the counter-attack. So he's certainly one to look out for. Now, in terms of their boxing, it's not actually been easy to find a plethora of fighters that have boxed for them that have been anywhere near a sort of level that you'd report on. It's very few and far between. I guess you'd have to go with Ace Rzewski. He was a bronze medalist in the 1976 Montreal Games at lightweight. He lost in the semi-final to the eventual gold medalist Howard Davis Jr. of the US. In the pro game, he had a career that wasn't amazing, to be honest. He never fought for a major title. He had a record of 18-2-3 with 8 KOs. So no great shakes, to be honest, but there was a real lack of competition, I guess you could say. So let's move on to the question of the Ukraine. And you have Andrei Yarmolenko, who is still their talisman. He hasn't really done it in the Premier League like he was touted to do. In fact, much of his career he's flattered to deceive, to be honest with you. He started off with a real aplomb, and he was very, very highly rated in the Ukraine. He was expected to kick on and have a fantastic career. He hasn't really done that. But he's a good player. He's a good player. He can cut in from the wing and look to make things happen. So he'll be one that they'll look to for his experience and for his star quality, at least on home surface. The guy to watch out for is probably their best player. His name is Ruslan Malinovsky. He's a very gifted attacking midfielder. He's a good passer of the ball. He will look to dictate and create everything for the Ukraine. He plays for Atalanta. Look out for him. Marlos as well from Shakhtar Donetsk. Doesn't start for them, but coming off the bench, he can be quite an exciting player. He likes to cut in a lot and have a shot or two. They've also got Zinchenko, who actually plays in midfield for them rather than at left back like he does for Manchester City. In terms of boxing, listen, they're producing so much talent, aren't they? The Klitschko brothers, Alexander Usyk, Vasyl Lomachenko, 4 unbelievable fighters there alone. In terms of the Klitschko brothers, you probably have to go for Vladimir based on achievements alone, even though I felt that Vitaly was the better fighter. Not much more to say there. I'm sure you guys are all aware of these great fighters. No prizes for guessing who qualifies out of the boxers in terms of Vladimir Klitschko, of course. But then I've gone for the Dutch fighter Tours over Lazek, not because he was necessarily the better fighter, but merely because from a sheer objective perspective, winning a world title is better than winning 2 European titles, even though Lazek overall may have been the better fighter. He may have achieved more. I'll leave that to you. You guys can give me your opinion on that. In terms of the football, we'll go with the Dutch and the Ukraine. Austria are definitely a live dog in this. They can definitely do this. Fyrom will struggle, but they can get goals. You know, it's not impossible for them to do something special and historic, but I would be surprised. I firmly expect it to be the Ukraine or Austria. I think Austria are a solid side, capable of a lot, but I think the Ukraine might just have a little bit more about them. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. By the way, with the Dutch, one thing I'll say, they will be involved in goals. This is going to be a high-scoring group, I expect, from all ends. There'll be attacking sides here that, and none of them are that great at defending. I think there'll be goals here, so it'll be a group that you should enjoy. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. Take care.